Right, two more things and we're all finished here for this series. So, can you add an absolute phrase to this sentence? All right, that was the question that either just crushed people, the whole concept of an absolute phrase in quiz number 6, or some people got it, but I want to make sure that you get it. I think it's a really important concept to understand and also use as writers. That's why I keep coming back to it. It's just a powerful structure. So, if I gave you a sentence and said, hey, can you add an absolute phrase to it? Could you do it? So if I took a sentence like, Jimmy enjoyed a quiet Friday evening at home with reruns of My Little Pony. Make sure you know how to write an absolute phrase. It has a noun and it has some kind of modifier after it. Typically, a participle is really a smart choice, but you have other options if you want to. You could follow it with a prepositional phrase, you could follow it with an adjective, you could follow it with another noun, renaming it, but usually the participle is really easy to do. Let me show you what I mean. Remember, an absolute phrase is simply setting the tone for the sentence, or it's kind of setting the background of the sentence, but it's just completely separate from that sentence. So here are my suggestions. I could say, the TV screen glowing in the darkness. Jimmy enjoyed a quiet Friday evening at home with reruns of My Little Pony. So once again, I'm going to anchor to a noun, which is screen. And I certainly could have words in front of it, but I definitely have something that follows it, but it's not a sentence. If it's a sentence, it wouldn't be right. It can't be the TV screen is glowing in the darkness, because that would ultimately make a run on. I've got to make sure that it's just a noun with something describing that noun. The TV screen glowing in the darkness. If I said, his giggles echoing down the hallway, Jimmy enjoyed a quiet Friday evening at home with reruns of My Little Pony. Once again, I'm anchoring to that word giggles, and then I add some words after it to kind of modify it. If I said, his favorite PJs with the feet still fitting him, Jimmy enjoyed a quiet Friday evening at home with reruns of My Little Pony. Once again, I'm anchoring to the PJs, and then I have these words afterward describing it, but it's not a sentence. I didn't say his favorite PJs with the feet do still fit him or are still fitting him. It's just still fitting him. Little participle is, once again, the easiest way of writing this absolute phrase. So make sure you feel confident in how to do this. And then my personal favorite, a bag of peanut M&Ms by his side. Jimmy enjoyed a quiet Friday evening at home with reruns of My Little Pony. You don't always have a participle, so in this time I just simply had a little prep phrase. So I have a bag of peanut M&Ms, my personal favorites, and then I have a little prep phrase after it, by his side. All right. Second thing is, make sure you know the difference between your grammar gut, your grammar brain, and your grammar heart. All right, one of the very early things we took on in Unit 1. So remember, your grammar gut is the grammar that just feels or it sounds right or wrong to your grammar gut. It's your instinct. It's your internalized rules that are in your head that just sort of says, hey, that doesn't sound right, or we don't talk that way, or we don't write that way. There's just something about that which just sounds or feels off. And that's your grammar gut. And we talked about how your grammar gut sometimes is right, sometimes it's wrong. So we can't always rely on our grammar guts. Then we have our grammar brain, and that's the reason why we took the class, is that we don't necessarily rely always on our gut, but actually know the real reasons why something's right or wrong. And your grammar brain basically is grammar that's been taught. It's the formal rules of what's correct and what's incorrect. So they're very black and white. And then we had your grammar heart. And remember, your grammar heart, it's grammar that you have to discern what's acceptable or not. It's not an issue of correctness. It's so important. I'll say it again. It's not an issue of correctness. Your grammar heart just kind of has to kind of let the context determine what's best. So it's like saying, well, it's not that it's right or wrong, but is that the best word, or is that the right word to use in this particular context? Is it too formal? Is it too informal? What should I, what can I get away with in this particular context? So we know that our grammar gut thinks the word ain't is not only not correct, but your grammar gut also thinks that it's not a word. So what would your grammar brain? I wrote grandma. Your grammar brain. I need to fix that. Look at it. Your grammar brain. What would your grammar brain? Oh my gosh, go back here, Jeffrey. What would your grammar brain and your grammar heart say about the word ain't? All right. So that's something I want you to think about. I want to give you the answer. Not that this is a question on your exam. Wink, wink. But what would your grammar brain think about the word ain't? What does our knowledge of grammar tell us about the word ain't? But what does your heart say about the word ain't? In what context could it or could it not be acceptable? All right, so just things to think about. More than likely, this question will show up on your final exam, but hopefully it will have the word grammar and not grandma, because what is a grandma brain? I have no clue. All right, that's all for today. All right, I think it's plenty. So once again, it's plenty of review for this first day. Maybe gather your old quizzes and your old practice quizzes. It says these last diagram worksheets we completed. That's something I did in another year, so just skip that. Way to go, Marsh. But just simply get yourself organized, just so that you know where things are. Look at your yellow notes. Decide what if you need to polish them, you need to add to them, rebuild them, reorganize them. You might want to go back to those punctuation rules we learned in Unit 6, and even these pronoun rules that we had in this little mini unit at the very end of Unit 7. Just make sure you have things accessible so you know where they are for the multiple choice questions. All right, that's all.